we really immediately thought, what can we do to make partnerships even more important for our journey, hardening and enhancing the cyber defenses of New York City. In February 2022, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul came together to launch the Joint Security Operations Center, and that really has continued to build over the last 2-3 years into something really special. We have those partnerships across both New York State, our federal sector partners, other states, and private sector, sharing threat intelligence and being able to spot potential cyber threats that could be targeting other localities and be able to share that information rapidly. That has helped prevent attacks from occurring. And it's really exciting for us to be able to have those great partnerships at all levels of government and industry.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining this roundtable discussion for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I want to remind you all that this roundtable is being audio recorded and a transcript will be shared with you after the event has ended. We have scheduled an on-topic question and answer portion, so please hold all your questions until then. With us today, we have Kelly Moan, who serves as the Chief Information Security Officer for the City of New York. In her role, Kelly leads New York City Cyber Command, which protects, defends, and responds to cyber threats across the city. Under Kelly's leadership, Cyber Command works closely with more than 100 city agencies, as well as state, federal, and private partners to safeguard the essential services and data New Yorkers depend upon daily. Prior to her appointment, Kelly served as the CISO for the New York Police Department. Previously, she served as a division chief for the Department of Homeland Security in Washington, D.C. Kelly, the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Regina. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here to talk to you about cybersecurity on one of the most important months, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I'm here to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and a little bit about the history of New York City Cyber Command. Next slide, please. All right, so for those of you that might not be as familiar with New York City Cyber Command, we were created in 2017. That is a first of its kind instantiation in 2017 and continues to be today as one of the oldest and longest running cybersecurity consortiums for a municipality in general, or even a state, but New York City is incredibly large, so we're really proud to say that New York City Cyber Command has been around as long as it has. And our mission really has remained the same, to make New York City the most cyber resilient city in the world. Since 2017, we've continued to build and expand cybersecurity maturity across New York City. We do that by directly supporting the protection and defense of over 100 city agencies. So that's everything from transportation to sanitation, supporting education, and even things like critical infrastructure like New York City Water. This continues to be a topmost priority for this administration because ultimately cybersecurity is a public safety mission. And as the largest city in the US and largely a global hub, New York City, obviously, just like any other municipality, state, local government, is a prime target for attacks. That was the case in 2017 and continues to be the case in 2024. And we're continuing to see that promulgate throughout all industries more broadly. So we talked a little bit about how big New York City is. Most folks don't realize sort of how big by the numbers. We see on average 90 billion suspicious cyber threats per week. On size and scale, we function across the city to protect New Yorkers' data, which really on size and scale is most similar to US Army Cyber Command. So it's a really exciting mission and has only continued to grow, expand, and continue to harden our defenses. And that priority for cybersecurity just continued to remain a top priority, and was one of the first things that Mayor Adams did when he took office was sign Executive Order 3 in January 2022. And that allowed New York City Cyber Command to become part of this broader New York City citywide tech authority called the Office of Technology and Innovation. And that really brought together a number of disparate technology or technology adjacent functions across different parts of city government, all together under one umbrella, the Office of Tech and Innovation. And so New York City Cyber Command can more greatly enhance cybersecurity by being more deeply involved in obviously the technology strategy of the city now. And then shortly thereafter, Mayor Adams signed Executive Order 10, which instantiated Cyber Command's role and responsibility in the protection and defense, being the city's lead directly, but it also mandated each agency name a Cyber Command liaison. And this is really exciting for us because this has allowed each agency to increase the number of people that are dedicated to cybersecurity, and it's really allowed us to have force multipliers for us at each agency, which ultimately keeps us up to date with ongoing threats, investigations, and there's enhanced synergies between us and our agencies for everything from the protection and defense, and then also for response mechanisms. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about the history of New York City Cyber Command, but I think it's really important to also speak to what we consider to be the cybersecurity ecosystem. So how do we actually get to be the most cyber resilient city in the world? Our vision for New York City has remained that the same since 2017, and that resiliency really requires a whole of society approach to cybersecurity. As I mentioned before, we believe it's a public safety mission. Incidents are felt most deeply by our residents. We're residents ourselves. And so that focus on mission is incredibly important, but we certainly can't do it alone. And so we've been able and continue to work with our partners in both the public and the private sector, academia research and NGOs, just as larger industries, to be able to enhance our cyber defenses and also be able to share insights into cyber threat intelligence, potential targeting of threat actors. So all of those unique insights, we are able to come together as practitioners with our public sector partners within New York State, within the federal government, within law enforcement, be able to share what we're seeing. We like to say, see something, say something. You've probably heard of that term before. But as it comes to the cyberspace, we want to make sure both our public sector entities are involved, but also the private sector, because private sector in the US controls around 80 to 90% of critical infrastructure. Things like healthcare, for example. Those functions are so important to delivering essential services to New Yorkers and more broadly, US citizens, right, across any state, any locality, any municipality. And so when we see that there could be a way that we could help one of our partners in industry, we also want to share that cyber threat intelligence as well with them, so they can benefit from it, and vice versa. So we all are protecting one another and having a helping hand. And then in terms of academia and research and NGOs, same kind of idea here, focusing on the ways that we can partner with academia in particular, not just because education continues to be targeted, just like healthcare, just like other critical infrastructure sectors. Here in New York City, it's even more important because not only do we want to make sure that we are a helping hand in the protection and defense, but also there's absolutely an opportunity for us to build and enhance pipelines for up and coming talent, career switchers who want to get into this field as well, to what I like to say is demystify cybersecurity so that more folks can get into the field and are able to see themselves in cyber, which is so important to have diversity of perspective, diversity of background coming to the table within our industry in particular. It's a real value add. Next slide, please. So how do we do this more tangibly? We obviously have a very strong partnership philosophy, and again, our mission to make New York City the most cyber resilient city in the world. Absolutely is a team sport. Cybersecurity, it takes teamwork. We are certainly a large entity within the space supporting New York City agencies, as I mentioned, 100 plus. But we really immediately thought, what can we do to make partnerships even more important for our journey, hardening and enhancing the cyber defenses of New York City? In February 2022, Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul came together to launch the Joint Security Operations Center, and that really has continued to build over the last 2-3 years into something really special. We have those partnerships across both New York State, our federal sector partners, other states, and private sector, sharing threat intelligence and being able to spot potential cyber threats that could be targeting other localities and be able to share that information rapidly. That has helped prevent attacks from occurring. And it's really exciting for us to be able to have those great partnerships at all levels of government and industry. The Joint Security Operations Center is housed in our facility in Brooklyn. We have New York State analysts embedded with our operations team. And so that 24/7, 365 cybersecurity hub rings true every day of the week for us. And we've only continued to expand that mission. And I spoke a bit about academia, but early on in 2022, we also launched New York City Cyber Academy. And we did that because we immediately wanted to provide training opportunities to our cyber liaisons. We know that incident response skills are, one, really hard to learn, right? It's a specialized skill set. And then two, they're also tough to maintain. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so we launched New York City Cyber Academy to provide upskilling and reskilling to the city's IT workers and we're focusing our first rounds of cohorts on the cyber liaisons in particular, because they are acting as that force multiplier for us at city agencies and has allowed us to be even stronger and more resilient in that space across all of our agencies. And providing those training opportunities has been, really exciting for each of our agencies. We've had cyber liaisons graduated at this point from over 50 agencies. We have a fall and a spring cohort. The fall cohort's actually taking place right now. So we're continuing that program, and in the future, we hope to expand that for public use as well, because there's absolutely an opportunity to get into this space, and we want to make sure that New Yorkers are aware that cybersecurity is an industry that is hiring, and it's a career path that they can see themselves in. And then lastly, another great initiative that we launched last year, we're celebrating 1-year anniversary of our vulnerability disclosure program. For those of you that might not know what a vulnerability disclosure program is, we're really excited that we were able to launch this last year. Essentially, it expands our philosophy of partnership and whole of society approach to cybersecurity to the public. So our vulnerability disclosure program provides a pathway to submit potential vulnerabilities that members of the public or security researchers find on New York City websites to our security teams, so that we can evaluate them and rapidly respond and remediate them with our agencies if they're a valid vulnerability. And it is one of the largest, if not the largest, program of its kind. Given how big New York City is, we've continued to leverage that as another opportunity to engage the broader community, not just security practitioners, but also it's a signal that New York City takes cybersecurity seriously. And we believe that every opportunity to enhance our protections and defense within New York City is an opportunity that we're gonna take and run with. Next slide, please. And then the last thing that I just wanted to call out for all of you is obviously it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but it's also right sort of in the mix of the holiday season. And it's an even better opportunity for us to talk about how to keep yourself safe online. There's a couple tips and tricks that I think all New Yorkers should know about. The first one, our theme this year for cybersecurity awareness and training, which we provide to all of our city employees, is stop, look, think. So phishing, which is a social engineering tactic that is used to trick a person into clicking on a link or downloading a malicious Word document, for example. I'm sure many of you have encountered these in your personal or professional life. You get an email, it might look suspicious. We train users, and I think all New Yorkers could benefit from stopping when you see something that doesn't look right, maybe from a sender that doesn't seem familiar. Maybe the emails look suspicious. Maybe there's a sense of urgency to the email. Hurry up, give me your bank account information, or we're shutting off your account, for example. So stop, look at the email, and then think, is this something that I would normally receive? If not, don't click on it. Don't download the attachment. Reach out. You can always reach out to the sender directly if you know them through a phone call, or if it's, for example, a bank, call the bank directly, and you can always verify if someone does in fact need to get a hold of you. The other tip that we have is studies have shown now that the longer the passwords are, the better. Now, for folks that may have trouble remembering passwords, we like to use passphrases. It's the concept of stringing a couple words together, let's say 4 or more words together that you can remember, that stick maybe a special character or a numeral in between each of those words, and then boom, you've got a passphrase. So the longer the better. And remember, don't use the same password for every account that you have. Let's make them unique. And then multi-factor authentication. So any opportunity on your accounts that you have to enable multi-factor authentication is incredibly important that you turn on. Most of your accounts will have that available to you. If it's not turned on, make sure you turn it on, and it provides a second level of validation when accessing your accounts. So think of it as just another protection in case someone was able to get a hold of your password, that they would still not be able to get into your accounts with MFA. And then the last one, which we're incredibly proud of, it's another testament to how New York City does things a bit differently in cybersecurity for our residents, and continues to showcase how important we take this and that it's a public safety mission, is we offer free for anyone in New York City NYC Secure application for their mobile phone. So you can go and download NYC Secure, which provides a level of protection on your mobile phone to keep yourself safe online. That is something offered that you are able to download on the App Store or Google Play Store. It's a great app, and I encourage all New Yorkers to download that free resource. With that, I just want to say again, thanks so much for hearing a little bit more about New York City Cyber Command, what we're doing to keep New Yorkers safe. Really excited and hopeful to answer any questions you're able to share today. But with that, I will turn it back over.
Hi, thank you, Kelly. So now we'll open up the floor to on-topic questions. Please use your raise hand function in the browser, and when your name is called, you can feel free to unmute and ask your question. If you're having any technical difficulties, feel free to just type in the chat. Gonzalo.
Yes, thank you for speaking with us today. I just wanted to double check something. I believe we spoke to your predecessor a couple months ago. If so, what do you have planned different than than your predecessor in the coming months and year?
So I'm not sure who you may have spoken to, but I've actually held this role since early 2022. So some of the initiatives that I just talked about are initiatives that we've built and launched over the course of the last couple of years. We're continuing to double down on cybersecurity here in New York City, and really excited about what's to come in the next couple of years.
Thank you.
Jennifer from GIA.
Hi, everyone. How are you today? I have two questions. My first question is, you guys are located in Brooklyn. What part of Brooklyn are you located in? And also, is that sort of like a hub for anyone to come into if they're having some questions or issues or problems that is like free of cost to all New Yorkers?
Great question. So our security operations center is located in downtown Brooklyn, and it is for our government and private sector partners ongoing. So it's not open for the public to walk into. There's certainly resources available as more broader tech, but that particular location is for our citywide security operations center and the JSOC.
Oh, okay. And then another question I had was, is there any way that you could provide maybe like a one-page like follow-up to this that just shows like some stuff that are most important initiatives that you have that we can send to like the newspaper, for example, to just make it easier to just put in it as an ad for you guys?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Now, Heather from Staten Islander.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So is there a link or some essential steps that businesses can take to protect themselves from like ransomware, malware, and other types of attacks against their networks that would cause financial harm?
Absolutely. Some of the tips that I provided above that we have on the screen here is definitely a first start. We see phishing continues to be the #1 tactic that's used by cyber threat actors to gain access to systems. So for small businesses, the human being sort of that last line of defense for that particular business, making sure that that business has strong passwords in play, multi-factor authentication for their applications, and that they are training their employees for being able to spot a phish. Or another tactic that's used is smishing, which, if you can believe it, is SMS-based phishing. So rather than an email, it's coming through via text. So those are still some of the top tactics that are used, and we want to make sure that our users are trained, regardless if you're a small business, you're a corporate enterprise, you're a government agency, on how to spot some of those techniques.
Thank you so much.
Ekta from the Indian Eye. Ekta, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah, hi. So Kelly, thank you for explaining in detail. And one question that I would like to put up here is to know a little more about the NYC Secure app. You said if downloaded on the mobile phone, it can help. How?
Great question. A couple of the ways that that application can help New Yorkers is once you've downloaded it. For example, if you get a suspicious email or text message that has a link that could be a malicious link, you can actually use the application to check whether or not that link is malicious. Another way that it helps New Yorkers keep themselves safe online is, I think most folks are navigating day-to-day life on their mobile phone, which means they're probably downloading a bunch of applications on that mobile phone. Some of them they might use regularly, others might just stay on the phone and not be used. NYC Secure does check the applications themselves to make sure that there aren't any risks or suspicious activity as it relates to those applications. So those are just two of the ways that New Yorkers can leverage this application to get them a level of protection than not having it.
Ozzy
Thank
from,
you.
Ozzy from Davidson Radio.
Yes, Commissioner Moan, thank you so much for the information. You've been talking extensively about avoiding problems, and that's great because you don't want to have any problems, and you're dealing with such sensitive systems, of course. God forbid there should be a violation of our systems. What is the operations plan to respond so that city services, 9/11, the water supply, etc., aren't in jeopardy?
Great question. So we have citywide incident response plans with our agencies. We also have an entire agency for emergency management as well that keeps their plans up to date for emergency management more broadly. Within the city, maintaining critical services being up and functional for New Yorkers is a paramount consideration. That is why we are here, building on all of the protections and defense. And so we have our existing incident response plans that we update regularly, and we also work with our agencies to test those plans. And those can be exercises like tabletop exercises where we walk through what would we do if something were to happen in this particular agency, for example, all the way to sometimes outages do and can occur unrelated to cybersecurity, and it's another good way and mechanism to test those plans as well.
Thank you.
Rico from Radio Soleil.
Thank you very much. This is Rico Dupree from Radio Soleil. Thanks, Commissioner, for doing this. This is absolutely important. One thing that I've observed is that lately, due to the prevalence of cybersecurity fraud, businesses, and specifically the financial sector, the banks, they've been reluctant to reimburse people. In fact, well, let's say they've been making it a little more difficult than in the past to reimburse people on the basis that they were negligent or something to that effect. So my question is, what kind of rapport or cooperation there is between the city and the business sector, the business community, to minimize those losses and thereby help the non-informed customer out there and prevent them from exposing themselves or also make it more or less difficult for the banks to easily say, well, this is not our fault, this is yours. You should have been more careful.
Great question. I think to your point, right, we want to keep New Yorkers safe. And then if something were to happen, right, if someone, inadvertently is tricked or lured to provide their credentials, let's say for their banking information, they'll need to know what to immediately do. So first, contact the bank directly. But in parallel to that, you can also, as a resident and more broadly, anywhere in the US, the Internet Crimes Center, the IC3, that's a function of FBI. You can actually submit a tip there that says, I was compromised, here's what they took, and you can report that to law enforcement. We always recommend to report to law enforcement, whether that's your local precinct or that's the FBI or both, quite honestly, because you never know what broader campaign you might have been part of, right? And so being transparent about what was taken and how you're recovering from that is really, really important. And then on the flip side, in terms of the banks, making sure that they have, you're contacting them immediately and you're providing as many details as you can about what occurred, what happened. And so you can cooperate with them. The city has partnerships with a number of entities in the financial sector as one of the many sectors that we partner with, just to the nature of how big those industries are and those banks are. They often see campaigns that are targeting their company, and vice versa, that we are able to share that cyber threat intelligence. So it's absolutely a two-way street.
Thank you.
Abu from Bangla Patrika.
Hello, hi, how are you? Did you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm calling from Bangla Patrika, and then the question is, since you have the experience about the cybersecurity, how the ethnic minority community, especially the immigrant community, how they are targeted, what kind of precaution they need, the minority community, especially in New York City?
Thank you for that question. So in terms of keeping yourself protected, in particular that community, as you referenced, the same tips are going to apply, right? We continue to see individuals be tricked or lured into providing their information, whether that's their personal information or their account login information, username, password. And that is what we don't want our cyber threat actors to get a hold of. And so how do you prevent that is one, making sure you stop, you think, and you look, whether that's a suspicious text message or an email address, just take a beat, think about what is being sent to you and if it should be able to be sent to you, if you're expecting it, and then making sure that you're not recycling or reusing passwords. The longer, the better. If you're having trouble remembering your password, it doesn't hurt to get a password manager. There's a number of those on the market these days. Download NYC Secure, and then lastly, enable multi-factor authentication. Those are really, really tangible methods to keep yourself protected online.
Thank you. McElvey, I thought I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
Hi, Orkaida. Thank you. Yeah, my question is along the same lines as the commissioner just answered, because we, in the Haitian community in particular, there's been lots of, disinformation and misinformation in Creole, especially, right? And so I wonder if there's any way at all for the city to respond when the attack is in a different language other than English, right? Where people just aren't sure how to separate, someone calling from the city, quote unquote, versus not. Like one case or example I'll give you is, I've heard of folks who get call saying it's, Con Ed or Keyspan, and unless you send us X amount of money, we're going to turn off your utilities, like within the hour or by the weekend or that sort of thing. So people's data, are out there, and it's harder, I feel like, when it is someone from their community or who speaks their language, who's able to perpetuate these crimes. So I was looking at ChatGPT at this point now can speak Creole, right? And there are all these voice apps through AI that allows people to pretend to be speaking, to be a Haitian person speaking in Creole. So it's just becoming more and more sophisticated, the tools that folks are using. And unless you have an inkling that this may not be real, or if you don't have that level of digital literacy or media literacy, I'm just afraid that a lot of people will fall for these things, even with tools like the NYC Secure app. So this is a long way to ask, like, what can the city do to help folks protect themselves from these types of direct attacks as we're facing new methods with AI being unleashed now on everyone.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that experience. What you're describing is all too common. It's the nature of a social engineering attack that is perpetrated and can be perpetrated across all languages at all persons at any point. And so the method that we have taken within the city to elevate the awareness of those types of techniques being used against city employees, but more broadly, New Yorkers. I think this is one roundtable that provides us an opportunity to share some of these tips and tricks to elevate awareness across the city. We certainly love that this opportunity exists, and we want to continue this two-way dialogue. But what you're speaking to is that sense of urgency that you're going to get either via phone, email, text. And when that happens, I always recommend to anyone, New Yorkers should know if you're getting an email with a very quick turnaround, an imminent deadline, or something bad will happen, right? You can stop, think about whether or not that actually makes sense. And I would always recommend calling the provider directly. So if someone's purporting to be an electric provider, and they're calling you directly out of the blue, same thing with your bank, for example, just call the number on the back of your card. That is always a great tactic, and you can validate if there was in fact something that they needed from you.
Jennifer, do you have another question, or is this your hand up from last time?
No, I do. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So first, I just wanted to say commend everyone on all the questions. It's very informative, and thank you so much, Commissioner, for this, for inviting us to this roundtable. So, my mom is like old school Italian, right? So this is like a prime example. A lot of times she'll contact me and, she'll be like, Jennifer, I received all this mail, or I received these phone calls. And, for me, it's, she's my mom. So obviously I go there, I take care of everything that I can. But I wonder, and this is maybe something, a partnership that could even be done with sort of like the elderly community, because you see it a lot where they target the elderly community. I wonder if there's a way that we could sort of, through through the Commission on Technology and Innovation, put this out in different languages, even if you guys need help from us, sort of videos that maybe could be put out with like QR codes that could go on the various magazines or websites, especially during this time, and then really provide people with information or resources. Because a lot of the things that you mentioned are so great from the questions that were provided today. I just think that if we're able to sort of like put it all in like a 1 or 2 page thing and put it in different languages, that may be a potential thing to help prevent this.
Absolutely. That's a great feedback. We will definitely take that and run with it. I believe we do have a public facing link that we can share after this. I believe it's nyc.gov/cybersecurity, where we're posting tips and tricks, and that website will live on after Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So that's another great avenue. We'll definitely take that back with the team and see what we can do to make sure that the information is getting out there in as many methods and languages as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And also, just for everybody, the link is in the chat, and I'll also follow up in an email with that information as well. Last question, Moan.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mohsin. I'm from Urdu News. I have 2 quick questions. Can you tell us, do you make, how many people got apprehended who are involved in cybersecurity scams and frauds in New York City? And second, in our community, scammers are very active on WhatsApp. They make fake WhatsApp accounts, then make people fool and looted hundreds and thousands of dollars from them. And a lot of issues every other day is reported in our community, and our community want someone should go after them, whoever is operating within US or outside US.
Absolutely. So in terms of WhatsApp in particular, definitely want to highlight the fact that when users or New Yorkers are receiving messages from unknown numbers, that's another opportunity for us to enhance the awareness of what those social engineering tactics look like and can appear. That's just one of many examples. That's a way that attackers attempt to elicit either funds or your personal information. And so making sure that you don't immediately engage with that particular individual if you don't know or recognize the number. That is something absolutely top of mind as a consideration for especially this month, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but more broadly, those attacks can happen throughout the year. We often see an uptick in that type of activity around the holiday season. You'll see that from really any major provider, those reminders to, spot a spam email, don't click on things, a lot of the same tips and tricks that I just shared. And then in terms of your first question, New York City Cyber Command is not a law enforcement agency, so I can't speak to how many individuals have been apprehended, but there are public press releases that do go out about hackers that have been apprehended by, for example, the FBI, DOJ, from time to time. That continues to be another area that is being, released to the public when those attackers are able to be attributed to an attack and then arrested for it. So those are definitely out there, but New York City Cyber Command does not function in that type of capacity. We support the broader community of cybersecurity as an industry.
Great, and I think that's all the time we have for today. So again, thank you everyone for joining today, and Kelly, thank you so much for this extremely informative session. Like Kelly mentioned, more information is available online at nyc.gov/cyberawareness. And if any of you guys have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to Ray at OTI, dropping his email in the chat as well. So thank you, everybody. We'll follow up with a few details in the transcript, and have a great day.
Thank you all.
Great session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.